Ever get that feeling when you're reading where it's not just the story that pulls you in, but like the place itself almost becomes a character?
Oh, totally. Like you're right there. You can practically smell the air and feel the dirt under your fingernails.
Exactly. And today we're heading to a place that definitely has that kind of power, the Ozark Mountains of Missouri, with Daniel Woodrell's Winter's Bone.
Oh, good one.
So we're going deep on this book, figuring out what makes it tick, the good, the maybe not so good. And by the end, you'll know if it's your next read or not.
Sounds like a plan.
We've got the critics take reader reactions to the movie, even some background on the author. So we're covering all the bases.
All right, let's do it.
First things first, who is this Daniel Woodrell guy?
Well, he's basically Ozark, born and bred. Springfield, Missouri, 1953, the whole 9 yards.
So the setting's not just something he made up.
No way you can tell he's lived and breathed this world.
And it shows in his writing, I bet.
For sure. But here's the thing. He took a bit of a roundabout path to becoming a writer, dropped out of high school, joined the Marines even.
Wow, quite a resume.
Right. But then he gets his BA from the University of Kansas, follows that up with an MFA from the Iowa Writers Workshop. Like, seriously impressive.
So that guy can write.
Definitely. And now, get this. He lives back in the Ozarks in West Plains with his wife, who's a novelist too, Katie is still.
Talk about coming full circle.
It's like the Ozarks just pulled him back in.
Well, that connection to place really comes through in his work. I've heard he even has a name for the kind of stories he tells.
Yeah, he calls it country noir,
Oh,
coined the term for his 1996 novel, Give Us a Kiss, and it just fits so well, especially for his Ozark stuff.
crime, but like with a rural twist.
Exactly. But it's more than just like shootouts and car chases. It's about real people dealing with tough stuff in a place that shapes everything.
Survival, loyalty, that kind of thing.
Yep, he takes those universal themes and grounds them in this very specific world. It's what makes his writing so powerful.
So like William Michael Boyle said, it's the language, the plotting, the dialogue, and that sense of place that really hits you.
Right on the money?
And speaking of hitting big, Miss Boner really broke through, didn't it? Even reached people who might not normally go for this kind of story.
Oh, yeah. The 2010 movie was huge. Jennifer Lawrence's breakout role, actually.
And it got all kinds of awards, didn't it?
Big-time Sundance Awards, 4 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture. That's serious recognition.
Just shows you how strong the story is.
Definitely it grabbed people's attention and didn't let go.
Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty, no spoilers, but what's this Winter's Bone all about?
All right, so picture this. You've got Ree Dolly, 16 years old, tough as nails, living in the Ozarks, and I'm talking deep in the hollers where life's rough.
So not exactly a walk in the park.
No, sir. Her dad, Jessup, he's into some bad stuff, cooking and dealing crap. Probably meth, we're talking.
Oh, so that's where the bone comes in.
Could be. But here's the kicker. He skips bail, puts up their house and land as collateral, and disappears.
And I'm guessing that land is pretty much all they've got.
You got it. And to make matters worse, Ree's mom is not doing well mentally. So Ree's basically raising her 2 younger brothers on her own.
That's a lot for a teenager to handle.
No kidding. So Ree, she's got to find her dad, dead or alive, because if he doesn't show up for court, they lose everything.
So she sets off on this journey to find him.
Exactly. And it takes her deep into this world of family secrets, criminal underdealings. It's pretty intense.
I bet the family's not exactly thrilled to see her poking around.
You can say that, again, they're a tight-lipped bunch, bound by loyalty, but also fear.
Sounds like Ree's walking a tightrope.
Oh, absolutely. One wrong step could be disastrous.
So what are some of the big ideas that come up in the book?
Well, family's huge, obviously, but it's complicated. Loyalty's a big deal, but so is self-preservation.
Right, because they're all connected to Jessup's mess in some way.
Exactly. And then there's poverty, like bone-deep poverty that shapes everything about their lives.
And crime that seems to go hand in hand with it.
Yeah, it's a cycle that's hard to break, And then you've got Ree's just pure grit, her determination to save her family no matter what.
She's the heart of the story, it sounds like.
Oh, for sure. She's the one you're rooting for the whole way. And then there's this sense of history repeating itself, like the sins of the father and all that.
The past coming back to haunt them.
It's like this dark cloud hanging over everything.
The Kirkus review said it had an Old Testament harshness and spareness.
That's a pretty good way to put it. It's a world of hard truths and even harder choices.
So not exactly a lighthearted read.
Not exactly, but it's powerful stuff, and critics definitely took notice.
Did they compare it to anything else to give people an idea of the style?
Oh yeah, they threw out some interesting names. For the journey part, they mentioned Cold Mountain. You know that?
Yeah, about that Civil War soldier making his way home.
Right, so it's like that, but instead of a war-torn South, it's the unforgiving Ozarks. And Ree, she's our Inman fighting her own battles.
Interesting. And what about the writing itself?
Well, they mentioned Cormac McCarthy's homicidal poetry, which is a pretty intense way to describe it.
So beautiful but violent.
Exactly, Woodrell's prose. It's got this raw, poetic quality that really gets under your skin. And then they brought up Elmore Leonard for the gritty dialogue and Harry Crews for just that raw intensity.
Wow, so it's literary but also like a punch to the gut.
That's a good way to put it. It doesn't pull any punches.
So what do the critics actually say about Winter's Bone? Give us the good stuff.
Oh, they loved it. Kirkus Reviews called it about as good as it gets.
Oh.
Said it's up there with Woodrell's best work, which is saying something.
High praise indeed.
They were really into Ree, too, called her an unforgettable heroine like no other. And they loved the writing, too. Precisely honed arresting phrases, doom-laden pronouncements, like they were really digging the style.
It sounds like they were blown away by the whole package.
Oh, yeah. And it wasn't just Kirkus either. It got rave reviews across the board, 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is crazy high.
So pretty much everyone agreed it was a winner.
Yeah, the consensus was that it's bleak and haunting, but also strangely hopeful. And then Jennifer Lawrence's performance in the movie really added to that whole vibe. She brought Ree to life in a way that just blew people away.
So the movie really captured the spirit of the book.
Oh, yeah. It stayed true to the source material, and the critics really appreciated that. They said the director, Deborah Granick, did a fantastic job portraying the characters and the setting without resorting to stereotypes or easy judgments.
Which is important, especially with a story like this, where it could be easy to fall into those traps.
Absolutely. And get this, some critics even called Winter's Bone the best film of 2010.
Wow, so it made a big impact.
It really did. And here's an interesting take. A critic from The New Yorker called it one of the great feminist works in film.
Really? That's fascinating. I wouldn't have thought of it that way. But it makes sense when you consider Ree's strength and agency.
Exactly. She's not a victim. She's a fighter. And the story really celebrates that.
And the screenplay itself gets some recognition too, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. The Writers Guild Foundation named it one of the best of the 2010s, specifically praised the really specific dialogue and mountain speak.
So they got the language right.
They nailed it. And that authenticity, it all starts with Woodrell's writing. He's the one who created this world and these characters.
So all signs point to this being a great read. But what about the average reader, the person browsing the bookstore shelves? What should they know before diving in?
Well, the Kirkus Review called it bleak, mean gripping, so that kind of sets the tone right there.
Not exactly beach reading material.
Not unless your beach is next to a meth lab. But seriously, it's a heavy story. It deals with some tough stuff. Poverty, crime, the harsh realities of life in that part of the world.
So you got to be ready for that going in.
Definitely. It's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows.
But even so, Ree's character seems to be a big draw. Her strength and determination.
Oh, absolutely. She's the anchor, the one you're pulling for. And the fact that the movie did so well capturing that essence makes me think the book probably hits even harder, with more depth and insight into her thoughts and feelings.
So it's character-driven, but with a real sense of place, too.
Exactly like we said before, Woodrell's a master at that.
All right, let's get analytical for a minute. What can we say about Woodrell's writing based on what we've heard?
Well, first off, the setting, it's not just a backdrop. It's practically another character. It shapes everything, the way people talk, the way they act, even the way they think.
That mountain speak we keep hearing about.
Exactly. It's like its own language, and Woodrell captures it perfectly. And then the writing itself, it's been called spare, harsh, poetic, all those things, and they're all true.
We saw some examples earlier, those vivid descriptions that just stick with you.
Like the houses caught on the scraggly hillsides like combs in a beard. That's not just description. That's poetry, man.
It really paints a picture in your mind.
Yeah. And that's what Woodrell does best. He makes you feel like you're right there in the Ozarks, experiencing it all firsthand.
What about the plot itself? How's the pacing?
Someone called it a coiled spring narrative, which I think is a great way to describe it.
Like it's slowly building tension the whole time.
Exactly. Something's going to snap. You just don't know when or how. And then the comparisons to writers like Fraser McCarthy, Leonard Crews, they all point to a style that's both literary and hard-hitting.
So that's got brains and brawn.
You got it. It's not just a simple crime story. It's got layers. It's got depth. It's got something to say.
All right, so final verdict. Who should read this book? Who's going to love it?
Okay, so if you're into country noir, this is your jam. You like crime fiction that's more than just cops and robbers, this is it. You want characters that are flawed and complex and real, look no further.
So it's not for the faint of heart?
Definitely. You got to be willing to go to some dark places. But if you're up for the challenge, man, you're in for a treat.
It sounds like it's worth the journey.
Oh, absolutely. And if you're the kind of reader who loves getting lost in a well-crafted story with a strong sense of place, this is definitely for you.
Right, so we covered the setting, the characters, the themes, the writing style, the critical reception. Is there anything else someone should know before picking up Winter's Bone?
Just this, it's a story that stays with you long after you finish it. It's haunting, it's thought-provoking, it's a story that makes you feel something.
And isn't that what we're all looking for in a good book?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into Winter's Bone. Hopefully you got a good feel for what it's all about and whether it's right for you.
And if you're digging Daniel Woodrell's style, be sure to check out his other books, too. The Death of Sweet Mister, Give Us a Kiss, The Maid's Version. He's got a whole catalog of great stuff.
So after all this talk about the Ozarks family loyalty and Reed Dolly's incredible journey, does Winter's Bone sound like something you'd want to read? What parts of the story stuck with you the most? And if you do give it a read, think about this. What makes Reed such a compelling character? Is it her strength, her determination, her loyalty, or something else entirely?
Those are good questions to ponder for sure.
Until next time, happy reading, everyone.
Get those pages turning.